Hey guys, so if you've seen any of my other videos, you know I'm a pretty big Medford Knife and Tool fan. I have quite a few of the company's knives. I actually carry the knives on a daily basis. Um, so I wanted to actually single out a handful of knives, and it was actually kind of hard to do. But basically, I wanted to pull some aside and just, show them off a little bit more in depth than my entire collection video. There's a couple knives here also that didn't make that video, but I wanted to just kind of put them all on the table and just kind of do a kind of a slow roll through them. So those of you who really enjoy looking at knives, those of you who are fans of Medford knives, would get a kind of just some extra looks at what I think are pretty unique knives. So I'm not going to go too far into it. I'm not going to talk a ton. Just kind of roll through the knives, but I will point out things kind of quickly, what makes these knives special. So this is a Marauder, and this is on my other video, and it's a D2 blade drop point, but it has some, you can see they did some really nice polishing, not only on the titanium scales, but also on the blade. They polished the hardware, they polished the clip, and this one happens to have the titanium shield with the Medford logo. Now, there are a couple different variations of the titanium, and you'll see this one here has a TI. That's the new version of titanium. They also have a titanium with a logo without the M in it, and that's kind of the older original titanium hardware that they put on. But when you see the shield that actually has the Medford M in there, that generally indicates that Greg Medford himself had some sort of hand in the build, whether it be by design, maybe he ground the blade, maybe he actually put the knife together. Whatever it is, it's pretty special. And if you look on the online, Medford does produce a ton of knives, but it is still fairly rare. Most of those Medford logos would come out at pretty much shows only. I don't think you can order that online or request that to be put on your knife. So that's something that's pretty cool and pretty special. And we'll just go over this really quickly again. You can see that this stuff has some really nice polishing, hand done polishing details, which is kind of a hallmark of Medford. They are a production company, but they are still all hand built, hand put together. So this one also is a little bit unique because it has the thick scales, the standard Marauder scales, but Marauder normally came with a .260 thickness blade. This one was a .190, so a standard blade. Actually, as of 2017 now, they discontinued the old Marauder line with the .260 blade, and they're all going with the .190, and they're calling it a Marauder hybrid. So I guess actually this would be one of the first hybrids ever built. This here is a Viper. You can see the Medford M logo as well. And just look at the detail. This is all hand done. Cool knife. So this is a Praetorian Genesis, but you can see it has a copper scale, and this actually is a knife that a store in Southern California called Plaza Cutlery, and if you're into knives, you might have heard of them. They do this dog paw, and so that's kind of their logo. So if you see a Praetorian Genesis with a copper scale, those all went to Plaza in any different varieties. This one happens to be a high polished. And let's see, you can see how mirror finished this thing is. It probably doesn't do it justice on the video here, but that's a standard S35 drop point. And kind of what makes this knife pretty interesting, not only does it have the dog paw on it, it has the copper scale, but you can see the copper scale, and I have two of these actually. I have one with the tank tracks on there as well that I use every day. but you can see the copper scale, for whatever reason, was quite a bit thicker. So this is actually a Praetorian Ti thickness. The other side is a standard Praetorian thickness. So this is probably what jokingly I call it, like a half Ti. So Praetorian Genesis half Ti. But that's copper. And actually, if you watch the videos, Greg did this knife himself. So it's kind of ironic that this does not have a Medford Shield logo. But when Amy was rolling through the videos, and you can look it up, copper Plaza Cutlery Genesis, Greg actually walked in and said, hey, I did that knife, and there was another one that he had done himself. So they didn't put an M there, but Greg had come on and said, look, I did the finish on that knife. So I thought that was pretty cool, and why I included it with this collection. This is your standard run-of-the-mill Ti, Praetorian Ti. The reason why I put it on here is just the colors. It's got such neat colors, and I'll just let it do the talking here. 3V, Tonto, titanium hardware, you can tell from the Ti. Just a neat knife. This knife here, there's actually a couple of them, so it's not unique. This is from the 2017 Blade Show, but this one went to a online distributor, so I don't know, maybe this was a practice run that they did the laser etching and then they sent the other one to the show. But I like this one better because it actually comes with a 3V blade. But it just kind of shows off what they can do with their equipment there at the factory with the lasering and the etching. This is pretty cool. It kind of has a very rough, raised texture feel to it, so I'm not sure how that works exactly, because it definitely feels raised. But I think it's a very cool looking knife. So the last two I think are really special. First of all, they're friends and family configurations. Those are really, really rare. What that means is it has the thick scales, just like the Praetorian Tis, but instead of having a thick .260 blade, it has a thinner blade, just like the what I was talking about with the Marauder here. So they consider that a FAF configuration of friends and family. You can order it, so if you called up and said, I'd like it in this configuration, I'm going to imagine they're going to tell you they can't do that. But on a couple other notes, first of all, this one also has the Medford shielded logo on there. But take a look at this. This is also a copper scale, but it's Ti, so they actually did it's asymmetrical here. But this is a genuine Roman ancient coin from the day. So if you were alive in Roman times and whatever that coin would have been worth, you're paying for your food, that coin was in circulation in ancient Roman times. So Greg decided to put that into the knife and incorporate that into the design of the knife. That's very, very cool. And he actually named this knife, that's a Damascus blade, stainless steel Damascus. And they called this the Praetorian Ti Relic. And I was lucky enough to be able to purchase this one because I really enjoy the Medford knives. And this one was very, very unique. Okay, the last one is really really neat knife. It's got a Mokuti slab on the presentation side, and the blade is Sanmai. And they really, again, put a really nice polish on this, almost a mirror polish, which is insane because basically, depending on how light hits this thing, and you can see this even on the video, and of course there's no filters here, no nothing. The whole knife just changes the look of it, and there's so many different colors popping out of this thing. It's insane. But that's the Sanmai blade. And the backside is a PVD'd titanium. but the Medford Ti clip is also in Mokuti, and it's got the new breaker with the hole, so if you wanted to put a lanyard on there. But man, oh boy, is this a cool one. This was a really cool knife. Negative about this thing is it picks up fingerprints like no other, but I mean, you can look at this. I mean, this would be a photographer's dream just to look at the colors popping off this thing depending on just how light is hitting it. All right, so that was the kind of what I consider the best of my Medford collection. I hope you enjoyed looking at it. Feel free to ask any questions and I'll try to answer them below. All right, thanks, bye.